Well, hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to part 3 of the Klingon Bird of Prey build. So, I know it's been a few days since I posted a video, but I got a lot done. Mostly it's all sub-assemblies at this point. I also have the base built. Now, you'll recognize this from the Battlestar Galactica build-up. I kept to the same format only because I really liked how the BSG's stand came out, and I thought it looked pretty cool for the Bird of Prey as well. I'm just saying that's the super glue that got squeezed out there. As far as the paint goes on this, I'm not 100% sure yet. I had two ideas, and if you guys in the comments below let me know what you think about this. I was thinking of doing a metallic, kind of like I did for the Klingon Vorcha ship, or with the green. I'm kind of veering off from the green because the Bird of Prey is going to be green. I don't want the stand to be green, so I'm kind of thinking metallic is what I'm probably going to go with as far as the paint scheme goes. And I had a lot of glue squeeze out. Did not know that. But either way, I'm probably go with the metal. But we'll see. So that's done. Both wings are assembled and wired up. So I've got the wires coming out here. Luckily, there was plenty of room inside here for that SMD or LED and fiber optic, so I was able to run it pretty well. So what's going to happen is, and I got both baffles done, put together, ready for priming. Now there's a lot of empty space inside this baffle, so what the plan is, let me make sure I got the right one. When this baffle gets glued on and it goes to the ship, I'm going to stuff the extra wiring up inside the baffle right here. That's where the extra wiring is going to live. And I have also drilled out holes on the upper section. Well, you can't see them now as I got them covered up with tape, but I have two holes drilled here and here. So the wires, basically when this thing gets attached, like so, the wires are going to come down through the hole here and out through the bottom, and I'll just tuck them under the baffle. So that's how that's going to work. I also noticed in one of the pictures that the lights on these wings were kind of a yellowish tint to them, or had a yellowish tint to them. So I was thinking, is after I get these trimmed and everything's all painted up, maybe taking a little bit of Tamiya yellow clear and just dabbing it on the tips just to give it more of a yellowish glow. I think I might actually do that. I've got everything wired up. I got the lights for the engines. Now, as far as the engine lights go, pretty basic. What I did was to give it kind of a dual color effect is I put a red in the middle and yellows on both sides. I tried orange, but it blended really well. So the orange or the yellow, it kind of gives that two-tone. Like if you're looking at the engine, it's kind of red in the middle, but then it bleeds into the yellow on both sides. So I think it came out really good. So that's done. I have the fiber optics. Sorry, not in frame there. Fiber optics are all run and attached to their respective LEDs. The little red lights that come out from underneath here, they're masked off with some liquid mask right now, but they are painted on the back side with red clear paint. Now, as far as the internal lighting goes, I wanted to keep this in scale as much as I possibly could. So what I had done was I took some Tamiya smoke and I just put it over the strip tape that I have in here. So I have a two small 3 sections of double density, bright white, and that was pretty bright. So a little bit of Tamiya liquid smoke dabbed on the LEDs themselves. Not a lot, but enough to just to tone it down and kind of dim the lights a little bit, and it put it a little more in scale. And I tested it, turned out really well. I'm very happy with it. Out of all these fiber optics, they're all white light, except for one. And I know this is not Canon, but the beacon light back here, and nothing's flashing by the way, but the light back here was supposed to be white. But I wanted to break up a little bit because everything was white coming from the fiber optics, so I just put a red in there instead, just to give it some distinction. I have these masked off right now. The reason why is I want to keep them clear so when I prime, I don't get paint up in there, so I have a good plastic-to-plastic seal or contact when I put the baffles on. I did have to add some styrene plastic to this. When I put these sides on here, first they didn't meet up at all. Right here on the neck. So I had to take some resin and a UV light, fill it and cure it, and then sand it down to get it to be filled in. That wasn't too hard to do. But there was a little bit of a seam on both sides here, so I had to take some styrene strips and cover that up a little bit. I think it turned out pretty good. The other thing I had to do was when I put this together, and I had it completely fit, and it was, tightened down on both ends. There was this very large hole right here on both sides. So I ended up having to do is take some styrene rod or some styrene blocks and cut them and glue them in on both sides. That filled that hole. I don't know why the hole's there. I don't know what happened with the molding. I just don't know. But it was too big to fill with liquid with a tulip slick. It was a big gaping opening. So a little bit of styrene plastic fixed that little problem. I still have to do some more light blocking with some tulip, but that's fine. But all the wiring's finished on both sides. Again, same thing with the bottom half. I have the fiber optics hooked up. I did the same thing with the LED strip. You can see in there some liquid smoke. I have a red LED to the photon torpedo launcher. You can't see that. And and I also did on the engine, I added some sides here on both sides. I did that to help kind of retain or to kind of block any bleed through of the colored lights into the main fuselage, and that works pretty well. So those are all done. Like I said, the baffles are done and everything's pretty much ready to be primed. The engine is done. This, I'll tell you what, this brought me so much grief. I had to strip it twice and repaint it twice to get it right. But as you can see, I have all the framework painted. I used gunmetal. Direction set steel. I thought gunmetal looked better, and it's my model. So I also have painted the top and bottom with Tamiya clear red and Tamiya clear yellow for this section right here. It doesn't look clear because on the back side I have a very thin coat of white paint sprayed. Reason why I did that is because when I put this on and lit up the lights, you could plainly see there were 3 light bulbs on the inside of the engine, and that did not look good. I was not diffused in any way, shape, or form. Even frosting the glass did not diffuse it enough. So I went with the little trick that I learned from Boyd over at Trekworks. Was for a great light diffusion is you spray your base color of what you want it to be, and then you put a thin layer of white paint over that. So when it lights up, it diffuses the light, but you can still see the glow, and that's what gives it that nice little faded effect of the red in the middle and the two sides of the yellow kind of bleeding. But I think, honestly, I think overall that came out hella good. I mean, that's all hand painted. So, took me very, very tedious, but I got it done. The last thing is the photon torpedo launcher itself is done. Again, gunmetal for the outer hull. I mean, for the outer part of it. And it's not gonna focus. You can see the clear red around the outer ring there. Now the middle, originally I had clear yellow, or I mean clear green, but having to use a red LED, it was not turning out green. So I was looking at some more screenshots, and when the weapon isn't actively firing, all you see is kind of a black tube when the weapon's actually not firing a torpedo, but the red ring around it is active. So I'm just going to basically make it to where it's not firing a torpedo. It's active and it's armed and ready to fire, but at this very moment it's not actually firing a torpedo. So there's nothing coming out of the main tube. So that's why it's going to stay. And I just used some gunmetal or some metallic black to fill that in, and that's done. I did test that on the ship itself, and it looked really good. It came out sharp. The last thing I want to go over before I call it a night, because it's late and tomorrow's Easter, and I have my grandbabies coming over tomorrow to do Easter with us, along with my daughter and son-in-law. So I don't be doing much work tomorrow. I don't know if I showed this already or not, but as far as the base goes, I'm going with the same style base I did the Galactica, and that's because I just kind of really liked how the Galacticas came out. So that's what I'm going to go with. Oh, I didn't stand that down. Anyway, so exactly the same setup for the switch and everything. I did the same to PLA and then resin for the outer shell. Now the only thing different I'm doing is I have a bunch of these fiberglass rods I've collected over the years, and I measured it with my calipers, and what I had done was I had made collets for them, and I did a couple different sizes of collets. I have the short ones and the long ones here. The idea is they fit just snugly around the tube. And the idea is to get it around that tube like so, and I have this drilled out, or I didn't drill it out. When I went back in Tinkercad and I remade this hole to be the diameter of the rod. The idea is, so the rod doesn't go all the way through, is I'm going to super glue it in position, and then it just goes in like so, and then epoxy it in like that. It's a nice true and straight rod. Looks really sturdy, very good. Now I'm going to cut it to length, and the adjacent side, same thing, as I have a hole drilled out in the bottom of the bird of prey, which is the diameter of this rod. And let me get the wire out of there and I'll show you what it looks like. Actually, I can put the wire in and do this. Hold on a second here. I'll run the wire through. I'll show you. Now this is not going to be this long when I get ready to mount it. But the nice thing about this is the same thing. It'll go in, and that collet that I designed and 3D printed, a very simple little device. It locks it in nice and tight. I'm going to epoxy that. It will not be going anywhere, and that gives a nice solid bond. Now it is going to be a little bit of an angle, as you can see, kind of angled upward a little bit. That's fine. That's kind of the way I want it anyway. So that's going to work out in my benefit. Actually, one more thing before I go. The wiring for the wings. So what I basically have done is I have it covered up now because I want to keep this from getting paint on it. Is I got 2 holes drilled here and here. What's going to happen is when I put these wings on, when I attach the baffles to these wings, I'm going to run this wire through the hole inside the body. It's going to come through and down, and then when I put the wing on, all that extra wiring is going to be shoved up inside the baffle, just like this. And there's plenty of room in here for this, for all that wiring, so it's going to hide it really well. And then I'll just glue the baffles and the wings to the main body, and the wiring will be tucked away and hidden nice and neatly. And it'll give me plenty of playing room here to wire everything up. I can keep it this long, wire it up, and then just once it's wired up, just shove it in the back here like that, and then attach once that's in there nice and secured, just go and attach it like so. That's my plan. So that's where I'm at, and that's the order of operations here. Excuse me. There's not a lot to really do at this point, except for priming, because I got everything done. All I gotta do is throw it in primer, and then start doing the base color painting. The time-consuming part of this whole project is going to be doing the panel work, like with the bottom of the wings and all the different colors or shades of green and some grays. That's where it's going to really take a lot of time. So I probably will not be done with this till probably next weekend. Yeah, excuse me. Like I said, tomorrow is a no model day probably, because like I said, I got the grandkids coming over. We're gonna do Easter with them and have dinner, so I'll be spending a lot of time with the family. And I got some other projects I have to work on. That is a honey-do thing that my wife asked me to do for her, that I need to get done soon. And then plus going back to work. So yeah, probably not till next weekend by the time I have it done. But I did want to get a video out there and give you guys an update on what was going on and where I was at. Also, I said this in my last video, but again, for any of you guys that want this base, either in this format here, which is just the universal base, or if you want one for the Battlestar Galactica Mobius build, remember, and I'll put the link in the description below again, remember to go to hobbyworks.com. You'll find this stand there. You'll find a lot of other like hobby equipment that's been designed and printed. You'll find car parts and aftermarket parts for Star Trek builds, such as 1-350 refit. My buddy Russ over at Hobbyworks has worked diligently and on designing some aftermarket parts for the bridge, the BC deck, as well as some cargo pods, I believe, and just a bunch of stuff he's worked on. So check out the store. It's got the 3 categories: automotive, sci-fi, and equipment. But check it out. You may find something you're interested in. And again, I'll put the link in the description below for that. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching, especially if you stuck around to the very end of the video. I really do appreciate that. I hope you guys have a wonderful and safe Easter tomorrow. So until we talk next, have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Easter, everybody, and I will talk to you all later.